Well, good morning, everybody. We're diving in here with an incredible agent. She's gonna blush when I say that, but she's an incredible agent out of Cleveland, Ohio. Her name is Rebecca Nedelka. And I think if I'm correct, we have you on for a few times on Agent Power Huddle, don't we? You got to unmute yourself there. There we go. We have you on for a few times. That was just this is the only time we get you.
I think this is the only one.
All right, then I got to get all the good stuff out in one 30-minute sprint. How about that?
Okay.
Because you have an incredible journey in terms of transformation in a time when the real estate market was slowing down for most people. Your career took off and you went from selling a few homes to selling a lot of homes. Why don't we start there? I just kind of start with a little bit of your of where your business was at, what you went to, and then we're going to go through the strategies that you used to make that transformation. Sound like a plan?
Yeah, it sounds like a plan. So I started with a different brokerage, and I felt like I was kind of on my own. There were some trainings available, but the support wasn't quite there. In my first year and a half there, I think I sold like 5 houses. And then a couple agents that I worked with locally said they were making the jump over to EXP. So I was like, I'm there. I was ready to quit altogether because it was just not, I was working a full-time job while doing real estate because, I mean, selling 5 houses is certainly not going to do a whole heck of a lot. So I moved over in March 27th of 2022 and everything changed. Just the support, connecting with you, Mike Henry is one of my uplines. Just everybody was super supportive and like getting the training, just having everything online, always invited to participate. Went to an event, a local training where the broker came, and the next time I saw the broker, she knew my name. I was like, how does she know me?
So when you say support, because I want to pause here because I've heard you talk about this before, and I first actually, so let me finish tell your story first, because I want to hear where you ended up with in that first year. Because then I want to figure out, like, you said you got training. I want to unpack some of what you got trained on. But it sounds like a feeling shifted for you, or a mindset from just like, I'm kind of dabbling in this real estate thing, doing it part time, but like I have people behind me, and like it sounds like a feeling of confidence. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, and just like that I wasn't just a number. Like where I was before, I felt like because I was new and wasn't a producer at that point, they didn't care if they're like, there's somebody walking through our office, doesn't really matter. Like just never getting to know, like, I mean, I walked in front of the broker probably 15 times and I couldn't even get a hello. And to me, that's just so
interesting.
Yucky.
Yeah.
So I moved over, and by March 27th, by the end of May, I quit my full-time job because I all of a sudden had things happening. And I'm like, wow, okay. I had closed enough, and I'm like, well, even if I quit, I now have at least enough in the bank to carry me a few months. If this doesn't continue, I'll just get a new job, whatever. I ended up capping in August. So for me, that was crazy. I went from 5 houses in a year and a half to 4 or 5 months I capped. Never in a million years thought I was going to be a capper. Like when people said they capped, I was like, oh, if only one day. So I just felt like things were going in the right direction. And that was my goal, was to cap. So I'm like, okay, I still have quite a bit of time left. I'm going to shoot for icon, like probably not going to happen, but we're going to at least aim for it. And I hit icon that first year, and I was just like blown away.
That's amazing. And just for people who are, might not know what that means, how many houses did you sell then in that first year? That
I sold 36 from April of 2022 to March of 23.
Sold 32.
36.
Amazing. So you went from 5 houses like
in a year and a half.
To 32 in your first year with the EXP, which, so clearly the mindset, clearly the confidence, like that I can't we probably can't underestimate how important that was, but you had to have changed some of your strategies, I imagine. Like, were you doing different actions on a daily basis? What did you do differently in that?
Definitely different actions. And when I say training, like part of it is since I capped in August, I made the decision that I was going to attend EXPCon. And again, super intimidated at first. I'm around all these agents that are big, known, super producers. And I just felt like, okay, here comes this girl from Ohio, and I'm literally surrounded by a lot of high producers. And when I was invited to some of the stuff that you had in your room with Brent Gov and
let's clarify. I was just going to say, when we say in my room, it sounds terrible.
Like you had an event
in our suite. We had we had a mastermind in a suite. Okay, right. So it's like it was set up for masterminding and for people to get to talk to high producing agents and share ideas, and like it was a pretty powerful couple of days. I think
it was super powerful, and just to be invited and be in that surrounding was like I almost didn't have words. Like, you came up and said hello. Brent Gov came up and said hello. Rick came up and said hello. And it was just like, what? This doesn't happen in a company. And, I mean, where I came from, I walked by, like I say hi to everybody I walk by, couldn't get anything. So that really also made me push to that icon level, just because I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like, you definitely got a lot of takeaways, and just the trainings that were provided there. I was able to do that first year, and I don't really focus on REO, but I was able to take the REO training, so it built my knowledge. I took the relocation training, affinity training, like any trainings that are provided. And in my mind, you always need to learn to grow, and whatever I can add to my toolbox, I try to. So, there's different ChatGPT, whenever there's something available, and EXP has so many different masterminds and just general trainings. They have icon agent trainings and things like that. It just makes you feel different. And like I said, being included in this, like, when I was like, wait, what? It's just crazy to me. Like, how does this happen? And, so I've continued to build my business. My second year, again, I've managed, I need to push up my cap because I keep capping in August, which is great, but I want to cap faster. I hit icon again my second year, and I closed 60 transactions last year. So 60.
60.
60.
I'm sure people heard that. Like this isn't like you started it when the market was good. Like, the market's been pretty rough for most agents the last couple of years. Man, your business is growing. Okay, yes. So two things I want to make a distinction on, if you guys are taking notes, as she made this transition. Your environment matters, right? Who you surround yourself, the training, what you're doing, and a growth mindset. Rebecca is constantly learning, getting new things, staying inspired. Those are two things that I've seen you nod your head. Do you agree with both of those, Rebecca?
Absolutely.
All right. So where did your deals come from that first year, or the 60, either one you want to do last year? Like, are they your sphere? Do you have a farm? Are you buying leads? Like, how did you start? Like, that's a pretty significant quantity of deals. It's not you and a big team. Like, that's
no, it's me. It's solo. I'm a solo agent. So when I first started, I'm going to be honest, I spent a lot of money and buying leads. And if I'm being honest, I did not close one of those leads that I purchased. It was a waste of money. Like, that was a tough lesson, because I'm like, I'm not making any money and I'm spending money on leads. So I with EXP, I plugged into like OpCity, which is a referral base, but you pay at closing. So you're not paying anything up front. And, you see when you close, I mean, they take a 35% referral fee, but I was like, okay, it's still business that I didn't have. And with each of those, I made sure that as their agent, that I was always available to them, communicated. There's so many agents that just don't communicate, and it's so frustrating. And the level of service, I mean, I grew up where customer service was everything. And I feel like a lot of the last few years, like customer service has kind of gone to the wayside for a lot of industries and people. And I refuse to let customer service slack. So building those, even though they came from Op City and they weren't somebody I knew personally, I got to know them. And now almost all of the leads that I took from Op City are referring people to me. A lot of my sphere that I know when I first started, I was super intimidated reaching out to people I know and be like, hey, I'm a realtor. Do you want to buy or sell a house? And it just felt funny to me. So I struggled. And even now, like right now, as these weeks go on, I joined the Fast Cap program that EXP is offering because I don't necessarily need the Fast Cap, but I want a fast icon. And they're still teaching me things that I know that I could do better. Being held accountable, picking up the phone and making phone calls just to connect. And, you know, it's always about learning and growing. And I sit back because I know a lot of people in there really are they're newer and they're trying to figure out how to cap fast and whatnot. But to me, it's still learning. And the minute that you quit learning, I feel like the minute you quit growing. So I am taking advantage of it. And I have a book of notes and I print my weekly stuff that we do. And I've got my calls that I'm making and I'm just doing better. And now I'm trying to actually reach more into my sphere to grow that as well. I had high school friends call me and ask me if I can help with the sale of their parents' house. And, you know, so most of my business now is coming from referrals, but I think up front, not being too proud to take Op City or UpNest leads. I've learned that if you have to put money out of your pocket up front, they're probably not the greatest lead sources. It was a cost that I learned early on, and it just, they weren't great. And maybe if I had better follow-up when I first started, I would have done better with them. So some of that's probably on me, but really there's so many people that you know, and everybody says, like when I hear people say, I don't have a sphere, like I know I used to say it and I laugh. Everybody's got a sphere. Like, what do you mean? Well, they know so-and-so. It doesn't matter. You know them too. So like really just tap in and I'm not a salesy type of person. I am not pushing like, oh, you got to use me. Let's talk about real estate 24/7. I try to be as like authentic as I can. Like I'm a straight shooter. You know, and I think my clients appreciate it because I'm not trying to pull one over on them. Like,
well, you're very authentic. I think that we've talked about it before. It's what I love. So, you use the portal leads where you pay a referral fee in the back end because I love that. So for a newer agent who's watching this, they may not have a budget for like you had some budget and it didn't.
I really didn't. I robbed Peter to pay Paul.
Okay, so, right. And some people may not even have a budget. So I love that. Like it's okay to take leads where you're paying a referral fee because you're building your database that is now starting to turn out more and more referrals, which is how your business is scaling and growing. I mean, I fully believe, I'm sure you're an incredible agent and that's why, they're referring you people, but are you doing anything else to stay in contact with them? Do you have anything else, email, phone call, video, anything else going on?
I've recently tried to do some more video and I always feel silly doing it. Like I feel funny in front of a camera sometimes. So I've been working on it myself to try to like force myself to do, even if it's not me on camera, although I've done some, like just going through and like trying to give market tips. I did a video on the whole Grandview Homes open door and how you don't need an agent, and just I had one of my clients talk about what those companies offered for a house that he had. They offered him like $70,000 for a very nice brick house, small in the area. And he sold it for.
Yeah, yes, pay for content.
125.
What did they sell for?
125.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. We had an offer for 125. We sold it for 150.
Okay.
One of the offers came in was 125. Grandview offered him 70. We sold it for 150, and he actually had an offer higher that would have been financed. He opted for the cash at 150. So it was more than double what Grandview Homes had offered. So I did a video on it because I see on TV all the time, Grandview Homes will buy your home, no headaches, no realtor fees, no this, no that. So I try to do some I don't want to say educational, but educational videos to the consumer that doesn't know any better. I've also tried to do more time blocking. I struggle with my time blocking. So I'm getting better.
Partially has got to be because you're so busy selling that many homes as a solo agent. But by the way, I love how real you are. That you're like, look, I sold 60 houses last year. Like, I don't do time blogging. I'm not very good at video. Like, I think you give hope to people as they're watching this. Go like, you don't need to be a master of all these things you see that are like, do you just put your head down and go? Like,
I do. So when I first started, one of the things that I found, some of the more seasoned agents someone would call and be like, hey, I'd like to see this home. When can you show me? And they'd be like, well, I can probably do tomorrow around 10 or 11. Okay, well, it's 2:00 in the afternoon right now. Let's go. If I'm not showing anything and I'm just sitting and working, whatever, let's go. I don't need 5 hours to go show you a house. That's what's going to make me money is showing houses. So but I don't have young kids. So I had the advantage that I could easily pick up and go. And so I did. A big thing for human nature, I feel, is instant gratification. So if somebody wants to go see it now and I can do it, I'm going to go see it now. So I try to make myself super available to people within reason. I just feel that that's what clients want. And if you're available and you're providing that level of service, they're going to stick with you. When the whole NAR settlement came up, all I kept hearing was people panicking. And I'm like, why are we panicking? You're valuable. Show what your value is. And it's fine. I don't make a big deal about it. I kind of go with the flow. I tell my clients, look, you've got to sign this before we go in. This is what I charge. If it comes down to you being able to not get the house because my commission's a little bit more than you can handle or what the seller's willing to pay, I'm going to adjust it to make this work. You're my priority. I agreed that your needs come above mine when we come into a real estate transaction. So those things can all be handled. Let's find what you want and we'll handle that part of it when we get to it. And have I made it a habit to lower my commission? No. Has there been a couple instances where it was in the best interest of my client and I did it? Yes, I have. And I do feel like then those people know that I'm not just giving them lip service, that when I tell them something, I stand behind it, and just being trustworthy and honest, I think, is one of the biggest things. I'm not a used car salesman that just is going to try to sell you everything under the sun and I don't care about you. I truly care about my clients. And there's been quite a few that still keep in contact and I feel like they're friends now. So that's just kind of how I am, though.
So you're really turning a lot of these clients, I was just going to say that, into friends. And that's, I think, part of the reason you're generating referrals. So the ones that are more friendly, are you, without trying to do mailers and past client events and making it organized, are you just organically still staying in contact with a number of these people just because they pop in?
A lot of them, yes. Once they were closed on a transaction, I have utilized, and I really like it because we all get busy and we all have this plan of this is what we're going to do and we're going to follow up and we're going to make sure that we stay in contact. And sometimes it gets lost. I use the personal marketing company they'd have that 5-year, like 5-year plan where they mail to your closed clients, like the first month they get address labels and a thank you card. They get these little like mini magazines that will have like health tips and like home decorating tips. There's a section of recipes and just like seasonal. But for 5 years, once a quarter, they're getting something in the mail from me. And I'm on that, like I get them to myself so I know what they're getting. They're not stuff that I just toss. Like I get realtor cards all the time in the mail. I don't, I toss them. Sometimes I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I might set it aside, but 99% of what I get in the mail, it's called the Personal Marketing Company. They're at EXPCon and the regular price for them is like $50 a client. And at EXPCon, they sold them for like $25. So for $25 on a closed transaction, I've got 5 years of follow-up once a quarter without me touching it. So what I do try to do is like pull up my closed things and I will send a message like, hey, just thinking about you. How's everything going at the house? Have you made any updates? Where are you guys at? How's the family? And just try to connect like person, not like referral code, like referring business, but just to genuinely see how you're doing. And I know that they're getting my stuff in the mail and they know I'm a realtor. So I just try to like check in on them. I don't have a referral code. They'll be at EXPCon and
she said she's not going. So if we code Rima, well, we'll get that to you through Ed, or we'll figure out. Ed'll be there, I think. So we'll get that code for you. Yeah, and I love what you're doing, Rebecca, because if you're going to sell as many homes as you're selling, you've got to figure out some ways to automate parts of this. But yet, it's still you. Like you're in there. So when you said we got about 5 minutes left, you said you're not very good at time blocking. Right. But how do you balance? I mean, if you're doing 60 deals in a year, that's a lot of deals as a solo agent. How do you balance your time? Like, do you work just a lot of hours period? Or you, how do you structure your day?
So I get up, I'm not like the bright and early morning person, but I get up and so now this past March, I opened my own office, which again, never thought that was going to happen, but I did. And I get up and I get dressed and I come to my office. Work gets done a lot more when I'm here without my distractions at home. Whereas before I would get up, I would say if I were at home, get up and get dressed. Like sitting around, lounging around in comfy clothes is great, but the productivity changes when you're dressed and like doing what you're supposed to do. Don't sit on the couch, go sit at the table or a desk. Like I was very loungy. I get up and I get my morning started and I try to be to my office every day between 8 and 9. And there are nights that I stay until 9 or 10 at night just because I'm like, something comes to my head and I'm like, I want to do this. But it stays where my family's not home or, my kids are all grown. So, I don't do that every day, but I do like when everybody goes to bed, I'll sit and play around on my laptop while I'm watching TV and I just kind of chill out. So it's just different things like that. I work a lot, but to me, when I'm sitting on the couch watching TV and just doing some like looking through emails or making a plan for the next day, like this is what I've got going, check my calendar, and then I do better. I have been through the Fast Cap program. I have been trying to block my mornings and legitimately sit down and make phone calls and just connect with people. And it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I am not a pick up the phone and just randomly call somebody. It's super awkward for me. I like face to face.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just been one of those. You know what you have to do. You just have to really get out of your own way and don't be afraid of it. Like I was having a heart attack when asked me to do this. And I'm like, how am I going to get on here and do this? Like, and I have that.
You've been great.
Jesse, like, what? How am I talking to Jesse? Like crazy. But it's, you just got to do it. And did I survive? Am I surviving? Yes, it's not that bad. And making those calls, it's not that bad. Most of the time people are like super excited to hear about you. Now I don't start my call with, hey, do you have a house to sell? Like, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. And a lot of times I'll connect on Messenger first. I'll be like Facebook. Like, hey, I saw this picture you posted. Or if I decide not to message them on Facebook, I'll just be like, oh my gosh, I saw what you posted on Facebook. Like, just kind of break the ice that I saw this. It made me want to call you. We haven't talked in a long time. How's everything going? And eventually they'll be like, I see that you're doing really well in real estate. I can't tell you how many people say that. Or even when you're just not having a lot, like people, when I was starting out, they'd be like, oh, I see that you started real estate. How's that going? Are you selling anything? And at the time I'm like, well, I'm trying to build my business. It's not as simple process, but yes, all in all, things are going good. I'm learning and, I'm confident that I'm going to be a producer at that point. So, there's ways to navigate through those conversations, whether you're producing high volumes or not. Just be confident in like what you're doing.
So how do you go from Messenger to a phone call typically? Do you try to transition from Messenger to a phone call, or do you?
Yeah. If some people like I've never really talked to on the phone, those people I'll just go back and forth in conversation on Messenger. But there are people that'll be like, hey, I'm about to hop in the car, I'd love to chat. And I may not have their phone number. Send me your number and I'll give you a call and we can, continue while I'm driving, whatever, because I can put it on hands-free and chit chat.
Yeah.
I talk a lot when I'm in the car because I just get bored and it's quiet in my car and nobody's interrupting me. So let's just chat while I'm on my destination. That saves me time too.
I love that. So you're going back and forth, you're DMing back and forth in real time. So, because sometimes it feels like a conversation. Mm-hmm. And then it's always weird. It's rude to be like, how do I stop having this conversation? So you just say, hey, I'm getting in my car. Let me, what's your number? I'll give you a quick call. Like we'll finish up or whatever, something like that. Right. Okay.
And sometimes I have their number. I'll be like, hey, this is what I've got. Is this still your number? If I haven't talked on the phone in a while, but yeah,
I love it.
I don't feel like it's anything super like complicated. It's nothing special. Like it's just really doing the things and deciding that you're going to do the things.
That's what I love, Rebecca. I was just gonna ask you, I have a couple minutes left to kind of pull it all together, and I think you just did. There's nothing that's like earth shattering in the strategies or techniques, which is what I love. You're just doing the things. So if you had to kind of give advice or anything else, you might have just given it. Is there anything else you want to add to kind of tie this together?
Communicate with other agents. I've had a lot of clients win transactions because I was the only agent that picked up the phone and called the listing agent to say, hey, I'm sending an offer over. Is there anything the seller's looking for? Even if you don't need to ask something, pick a couple questions that you want to ask and don't make one of them, what's the commission? Pet peeve. But no, communication and just, not just really, I feel like you just be yourself, like be for real. Nobody wants to feel like they're, just a number to you. That's what made me leave the other brokerage. I was literally just a number. And the best satisfaction I have from it is now I get emails all the time. Do you want to join? And like, yeah, no, thanks. I'm good. Glad you want me now, though.
Rebecca, I know you mentioned a couple of times, you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this interview with Jesse. I can't believe I got to do this interview with you, with Rebecca Nedelka and stuff. But like, truly, watching your business just grow over the last couple of years has been incredible. So thank you for being here. If they love your style and they have referrals for you in Cleveland, Ohio, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Either I'm on Workplace. You can call me. I can drop my number.
Drop your number. However you want people to get a hold of you. Whatever you.
Honestly, I'll answer any of them. I pay attention to all of it. My phone number, I can give my phone number.
Yeah.
330-414-8109. Texting is super fast. If you want to call, like if you call and I don't answer, Usually I'm talking to somebody else. Like I don't not answer my phone. You know, I will respond. If I'm busy, I'll shoot you a text, say, hey, I'll call you back. But you can always reach me by text. And if you text me and say, hey, can you give me a call if you'd prefer to talk? Can you give me a call when you have a minute? I'll call.
I love it.
I have
Thank
time
you
for
for being here this morning. This is great, Rebecca. Have a
you.
have a wonderful day, everybody. This is so good. We'll see everybody tomorrow. We got Linnea Carver here. Have a wonderful day, guys. Talk to you then.
Thank you. Have a good one.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.